I'm Bhavidhir V. Bharadwaj. Welcome to episode 28 of Genesis of Tomorrow. The following is going to be a conversation about agentic and physical AI, LLMs, artificial intelligence at large, society, future, technology, and more with Mr. Vignesh Kumar, a seasoned technology leader in the fields of AI, ML, business strategy, and more, with over 20 years of experience in companies like Dell, Oracle, Capgemini, Cisco, along with mentoring and advising Umpteen AI startups. Also, folks, if you're interested in such deep science and deep tech conversations and are able to derive even the slightest bit of value from the show, please support us by clicking the subscribe button so that we can keep increasing the quality of the episodes and keep on bringing such wonderful guests over for you. And now, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Enjoy and thank you. And we are rolling now. Okay,
Okay.
first of all, welcome to the show, Mr. Vignesh. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation at large. And a place that I would like to start it with is, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about the intersection of society and a technology like artificial intelligence?
So if you look at it, right, like when you see, for me, artificial intelligence is something that has culminated over 6 decades of amazing work that we have done as a community, right? It's not that overnight we have landed in a place like this where we are seeing artificial intelligence take a significant role in our future, right? If you go back, I think it was in the 1950s or some in a Dartmouth conference is where the terminology called as artificial intelligence was even coined. And if you just look at the 6 or 7 decades that we have gone through, it's it's been a series of developments that we have done, and finally where we have landed is because of those great work. With number one, if you look at it, we needed the infrastructure. So there was a huge set of artificial intelligence is the tip of the iceberg that we see. There are multiple layers which are below that, which is starts right from the infrastructure layer, then the compute that we call out, the storage that we really have to tap in, the networking that we have, the amount of data that needs to be enriched, the different algorithms that eventually started coming in. All these, if you start piecing together the enhancements that we saw in analytics, neural networks, deep thinking, all these finally we saw them get commoditized in 2022 because that's when I think everyone started talking about AI. But for someone who has been in technology, I mean, I am just 2 decades in technology, but there are veterans who are like 3 decades, 4 decades. They, if you go and ask this question to them, they'll be like actually telling that it's a journey that finally seems to have caught the attention of the common people. It was always something that the tech fraternity spoke about. Because when we did the internet revolution, when we did the mobile revolution, when we built systems to scale in 70s and 80s, the mainframes and uh, all these were in some way or the other contributing to where we are today. And this journey is just going to accelerate because there are amazing technologies that are being envisioned in the future, right? Like how will we create, how quantum computing will come in, how will we really integrate AI in such a way that we start looking at AGI, ASI. So it's a journey, according to me, and that is where today we are seeing those benefits on, because we have democratized it, we have given it to a common person, we have brought UX in front of the great infrastructure that we have built in, and that's how I'll put it. That it's been there. It's just that in the last 2 or 3 years we have seen everyone kind of tap into AI.
When we scratch the surface level matter, there are different branches that it takes. One of which being the current implementable areas that, as you said, are accessible to even the common man. And
Hmm.
two of them that come right at the top of anybody's head is LLMs and agentic systems.
Hmm.
I would like for you to maybe go into a little bit depth about both of them, their
Hmm.
scopes, how they work before that, then their scopes, how can people start utilizing them, and why, the question of even why do they do it.
Perfect. So see, the major shift that happened, according to me at least, was when Google came up with their BERT, like say, when the paper on the BERT architecture and technique started coming out, right? Because transformers were the biggest, I mean, if I have to put in, one of the bedrocks on which the LLM models and everything that we currently know as the models, be it SLM, LLM, whatever be the case, transformer is the predicting the next word based on the set of parameters that you're getting in is in the very simplest way. I don't want to go too technical and talk about how it is done, because that defeats the purpose of, there are enough technical papers that you can read. That was the first thing that I would say was the major shift towards us starting to when we understood that, hey, there is a possibility that you can train a model and create something which is as close as human intelligence, right? Because we always were working on like say heuristic models, neural networks, all these deep thinking, all these were analytical techniques which were there. Even though I am not a data scientist, but I always used to, when I interacted for my use cases with data scientists, they used to tell, hey, Vignesh, we can predict the propensity to buy based on the probabilistic models. Hey, for this, I think it requires some level of additional parameters where you might want to bring the customer sentiments, and that's why the neural network started coming. And so every time when I was working on my use cases as a product person, the data sciences team always kept telling that the needle is moving. The needle is moving. Now we can predict better the probability of an event happening because we are able to run more deeper, like say algorithms. And that changed when I think by 2017 or 18 that we understood that we can also generate as we predict, because that was the big shift, right? Because up until that time it was more like you cranking an engine, and it was left to the the person who was handling that to fine tune or use that power. It's like if you draw an analogy, the engine starts in your car, but it's left to the driver to determine what gear, what like say acceleration, etc. Right? And that was always the case when we were working in an analytics world, when we were working with models of those nature, where the element of integrating that or interpreting that needed a set of people who could understand that. That's why there was a role like someone who was a data scientist was the bridge between business and what was being cranked out of those models. But the moment we came into the generative AI landscape, I think that is when the large language models, when they got it trained on a huge data set. And again, that was all because of the power of GPUs, right? We never had, who knew that a gaming, like say GPU, like a computing component, would eventually power Bitcoin mining, and then it went into the LLM training, right? So that's where I think things changed. LLMs became, since they were trained on such vast set of data, or practically the entire internet, the responses that it started giving were very pertinent to your questions. It started generating answers rather than throwing the best answers that they could find, and it became more. For the first time, I would say we didn't have to learn their language, right? Like when I say there, now already we are talking like machines are living somewhere. But That's how it was. We always had to learn a language, be it C++, Python, or Java, or something to interact with the machines. But for the first time, you were able to interact in your own language, whatever you speak or you're comfortable with, and the interpreting layer translated it to the machine language. Machines were smart enough now, since they were trained on such vast data sets, they were able to find the most relevant data or response. Let me not even say data now, because data is just the underlying asset. They were able to respond back in a language again that you understood, with the most accurate interpretation of what could be the best response for your question. Unlike the searches that we had, where it was left to you to find, yes, I'll stack rank it by the indexing and all the functionality, but still it was left to the person to go and click each links and find the relevant information. But for the first time, someone felt like, hey, I just get the most what is the closest answer that I wish I got from my query for my questions. So that's where LLMs really changed the game, and you still see there is a huge initiative on two parameters on LLMs, right? LLMs for me are like the engines of the car. The Ford cars that came in 1920s, compare that engine to that of what we have in the Bugattis of the world today, right? It's very identical. The models of 3 years back look like dinosaurs when we compare them with the models of today's generation, and with a new series of O1 models and all, with chain of thoughts and all, it's going to get even more sophisticated, right? So what's going to happen is that is going to evolve, continuously evolve on two parameters. One, performance. We will find better ways with more infrastructure, more optimization, more like a push on data quality. The performance of or the accuracy of the models will increase. That is for sure. Number two, no surprises, is on the efficiency or the cost angle. So you will see like how DeepSeek just threw the cat amongst the pigeons, right? But it's the highlight has been DeepSeek, but silently there are multiple other things happening. Gemini 2's, I think if you look at their cost pricing, amazing pricing. Like so, all these are going to be, the model is ranked third or fourth, I think, if I look at it. Gemini 2.0's, they're different mod, they have multiple flash and others, lot of series, like they have, everyone is coming up with one release, they have multiple names, right? Mini, micro, whatever they'll keep calling it. But even their most the smallest model performs it is in the top 5, and their price is really competitive, right? And that is what is going to happen. Everyone will have a set of models that will be optimized on these two parameters, and it will continuously evolve. That said, that moves now with this puzzle of LLM kind of stabilizing, because see, the market or the common person, the enterprise leaders, everyone had to understand what was happening on the AI front. So LLM was like the first peek into what were the capabilities of the large language models. What is our future AI looking like? But then now we are pivoting towards agentic, right? Because agentic for me is the future, because I still feel AI models are more like, as I said, just the engine. And I think I was writing about it a few days back on LinkedIn that you don't buy a car just for the engine. You buy a car for a lot of parameters. What terrain you're going to drive, what is your budget, what is your cost, like what type of traffic you need to navigate. There are multiple things, or even the customer's driving habits, right? Like someone might like some type of cars. That is what is going to happen when you go slowly towards the agentic landscape, because when we look at the use cases where these will be implemented, three type of things will start coming in. Pure agentic automated responses. So before I go even into what is the three type, what is an AI agent? AI agent is nothing but which can take autonomous decisions on behalf of you. So example, currently the human in the loop is the one who is actually taking the decision, even when there are three options given to you, or the best option is given by the machine. Imagine a future where some of the very mundane tasks can be just completely outsourced to a machine, and they can basically run it or execute that task autonomous without any human intervention. Now, it's debatable what type of such tasks you will outsource. But again, that now leads us to the use case point that I was bringing, right? Each use case, when you are analyzing, slowly the industry will see three types of roles that will come up. One, the AI agent. Number two, co-pilot, which is human plus AI. And number three, purely human. And that is for me the tipping point now, because people now will start bucketizing that. Let's see, if you look at a use case end to end, it is nothing but a summary of or a culmination of tasks. So if you break down a use case, example, if you want to buy something on Amazon, that entire journey of selecting a product, logging into the platform, searching the product, getting the correct list of product, then selecting the product, comparing the price points, adding them to the cart, checking out, waiting for delivery. So if you look at it, this is like a ad hoc, now on the fly, we have just created a use case, right? And that, if you go in deeper when you go in, you'll see it's a set of tasks. Now, here is where you will start asking that question, that should I leave the selection to an agentic model, or should I leave the checkout, which is like, again, you can put guardrails, right? Anything under $50, I don't need to even validate it. Example. So if your toothbrushes and the toothpaste are $2, $5, you don't really need to go and validate, put in the OTPs, already credit cards and everything are stored. But why do you even want to monitor it or something of that nature, right? So a use case of that scale, or which is so mundane, you might just say run it through agents. If there is something which is your health related, you want to buy something which is based on your protein that you want to ingest, obviously you want to assess it, but you don't want to do the go through the pain of validating different products and their pros and cons and how close they are to the ideal body mass of yours, etc. So that could be something that the agent does completely and gives you three recommendations. And since you are it's health related, you might still want to basically have that control on what you're based on all the analysis, everything, you purchase it. The last one could be something as significant as you, example, booking, like selecting the place where you are going to have your kid. Okay, example, which hospital I should go in. I don't think, again, or you're looking out for treatment for a specific scenario. That is obviously the utmost importance for you, right? So at that time, you might just outsource some element of it, but in some cases, you might not even outsource, because you don't want to rely on just the research on internet. It's the conversations, etc. Right? So that time, maybe it is completely driven by human. So as you see, one use case, if you take, you might see a gamut of options in future. That is where the AI agents will infiltrate into every use case, is what I strongly believe, with a varied set of 5 to 90% adoption, or even unless it is like a data entry job, which is 100% adoption, but it will always be there. Some element you will want to not be involved and waste your time, and that will happen in every use case. And that's how I put in why these two are really important. As much as you have understood the LLM concepts, 25, 26, 27 could be the years when we will see tremendous, let's say, innovations in AI agents, because it's not just executing a task that is important, defining the guardrails, security, reassessment of your decision. I mean, example, I keep telling, right, like you write your exams, you just don't give the paper and come back. A top ranker will always go through their answers once, right? And when you go through that answers, you will inevitably find two or three places where you will fine tune it. You'll say, oh man, I could have done this better. Let me add. The last 10 minutes, I have always done that in all my exams, right? And I found mistakes at least worth 5 marks out of a 100-mark paper. And that's what the models will do. AI agents in future will have their own, I'll not say reinforced learning, but it's more like reasoning algorithms, which will challenge what the output of the same LLM was. And it'll challenge it. Hey, have you validated everything before I throw it out? It'll revalidate, fine tune it, and bring it out. So a lot of exciting things that will happen on both sides, because a car's development doesn't only happen on infrastructure and the body of the car, right? Engines also get refined. Even now we have that refinement happening. So it's going to be a long journey. We can sit and enjoy on both sides of it.
Recently, I was reading this article that was talking about a survey that essentially captured people's opinion in regard to whether they'd prefer to go to a human or an AI system, who they trust more. And the three, four main professions that it targeted were doctors, lawyers, therapists,
Mm-hmm.
from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And in all three of those parameters, the number of people who opted for humans were significantly, almost perfectly higher than the people who opted for AI systems.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, I remembered that while you were talking about the pure human job roles.
Mm-hmm.
And even though in these pure human job roles, AI will penetrate the workflow of those humans, where they'll be delegating their mundane tasks of maybe keeping a
Mm-hmm.
track record of their patients, or maybe keeping the track record of their clients. But the interaction aspect will be a human talking to a human. And that takes me to the question of what is the job market going to, because it's going to evolve drastically towards a point where if you do not keep yourself on your toes, you'll become obsolete. You'll fall
Yeah.
behind the rail, and it'll be extremely tough to be able to get back and become one with the
Yeah.
crowd again. How do you see the job market evolving? What would be your advice for the young people right now?
Yeah. Um, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for sure, Bhavya, because uh, if you would have asked me a year back or somewhere 1.5 years back, I still quote Jensen's favorite quote, right, where he says, AI will not replace you, but someone using AI will replace you definitely. Okay. But the reality is, someone using a AI will replace 10 people at the minimum. I think that is where the equation gets slightly trickier. Why and on what basis I'm telling this? Let me just take an example, right? Like in my consulting days, I used to have a team which was on research. I used to have a team which built data sets. I used to have a team which used to fine tune my PPT. Okay. I used to have a team which did the focus group discussions. All these kind of teams were around me, giving me inputs, and I used to make the final pitch deck or explain all these, get ready for a client conversation. Now, if today I was just trying to mimic myself, I mean, with, I don't know, OpenAI deep research that they launched a few days back, right? You always are curious when new tools come in. So I was just trying to, even though I couldn't go and do it personally because it's still not available, I at least started seeing their demos and people who have started using it, etc. You won't believe it. A competitive intelligence analysis, I saw them. I mean, obviously it's an exaggeration, but it was within few hours a competitive battle card was ready. Okay, and think about it. If I have to just take that as a perspective, just going deeper, what did I do in my past to build a competitive landscape? I used to go through each of my competitors' website. I used to read about their products. I used to read what their product features were, where we were stronger, where they were stronger, where there were parity. Wherever there was no comparable data, I gave a assumption. I mean, this took me around 4 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. I used to do that. Here, a query to a deep research takes 25 minutes sometimes, because if you give a tougher query, or sometimes 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you are asking the model to scan internet. You can see how it is thinking on the right hand side of the panel. It is going searching different websites. It's not hallucinating. It's going into different competitor places, collating the data. You have even given in the prompt that collate it as a battle card. You collate it as something which is readily presentable, and it starts putting in. It's like magic, where it starts comparing, putting in, etc., etc. And by the 30th minute, in a very complex query, I'm taking 30 minutes as a most complex of queries. Sometimes it thinks for 30 minutes also. But even in 30 minutes, I get such a comprehensive document. Now, that basically means that a research team, a data team, all these teams that I had, right? What will their role be in future? Is a big question mark, right? Because the bigger question is, will a consultant itself remain as a bigger question, but I don't want to get there. But let's assume that the client still wants me to fly to New York and present in person, the good old days of consulting, right? Like, will it happen? I don't know. But at least let's assume that role is still there. But for me as a consultant, high flying consultant, I really need just these tools to make myself ready. Number one. Number two, extrapolate that into an agentic model, agentic framework. I might train these as my what is a student community. I might be the master, and I might create my own agentic community of 3, 4, which is specialized in oil and natural gas domain research. Catch one. If I'm a consultant who is heavy on supply chain, maybe I'll create something which is very specific research on supply chain. Someone who's the best to understand the data of supply chain. Someone who can have an in-depth analysis of how the supply chain works end to end. So all these are agents now. And if these agents are available on my on the platform or UI where I am working, I am literally like working with a team of 5 or team of 6, correct? Which could have been humans in the past. And the beauty about this is I have them 24/7. I can give them a query anytime, even before I sleep. I can just give that query and ask them to keep it ready when I wake up. So that is where I think the job market will change significantly. And now coming to the good part, because now the question that you might feel that, oh, then it's doomsday sort of a scenario, right? But the best thing that I've seen from every technology evolution, and there are enough evidences, Bhavyadeep, that every time a technology takes away a lot of tasks from us and leaves us with significant time, we find better problems or bigger problems to solve. Okay. Now, you see climate change around, you see so many issues on healthcare, you see so many issues on pollution and all these stuff. So eventually you will have to have some set of people address those things, right? You can't live in cities which are like gas chambers. You can't live in traffics like situation where you're going to be stuck on 4 hours on the road. The real problems are there, right? Like, and there you need a significant workforce who can actually ideate, ask questions, and fix those problems. I don't think AI still has that capability to go and fix it. That is what Jensen wants to do. He wants to come bring physical AI into the physical world. Like, imagine a set of humanoids working on road to fix your potholes. That's also going to happen in future, but we are not yet there. But up until that time, we will see a significant set of this workforce, the right set of workforce, the people who are really ready for that change, and it's consistent. Someone who knew how to use calculator became the best accountant. Someone who knew how to use computers became a very good mechanical engineer also. Like, even though he or she was working in some, so every generation of workforce has been challenged. They have been thrown and disrupted by some technology, and this is going to be happen the same way. So we need to, the moment we get free time, it should not be lost in cribbing about what was my job, which has now gone away. But I think that job now has evolved into a bigger purpose, is what I would say. You need to ask more questions, because for the first time, we might have intelligence which will not uh, what to say, which might not run out of options, or might not be challenged by time. Many a times you might be taking a decision based on time constraints, correct? Because you might have felt that your solution is not the optimum solution, but because of time constraint, you might still have implemented it. But for the first time, we might not do that, because the follow-up questions can also take you deeper. Hey, is this the right solution? Why did you implement this? What polymer are you using? What chemicals are you using? Is this ideal for this particular landscape? Just looking at it from the climate change perspective, if you're cleaning up a city, you might go deeper and deeper and deeper and find the most optimized solution to implement. And that, if you just blow out and just look at it from 10,000 feet, it benefits the whole ecosystem immensely, right? Because imagine someone cleaning your cities. You live more healthier. You imagine healthcare getting transformed. You get the best of like healthcare. Imagine even rural people getting quality education. They come up. So the power of technology is finally to uplift everyone into living a fulfilling life. That's it. That's what eventually we want, right? And I see that that will happen if everyone thinks from that perspective. Immediate pain, yes, it will be there. There will be a set of people who will find it tough to navigate through this, but the smarter ones will know that they have to elevate themselves and look at it from a broader perspective.
When you talk about the smarter ones, one significant distinction that is drawn is the difference between being able to harness, maintain, and sustain existing technology and apply it in a very brilliant way, and the other is being able to come up with extremely novel, cutting edge developments and building stuff in general. America has got their own set of different intellectual children that, ChatGPT, Nvidia, all of these different institutions who've been working at the very forefront vanguard of research and development. China just it throws out its wild cards every now and then. Europe, India, the rest of the globe, sometimes you feel that there is a certain disparity between the technological rigor that not that they are working on, but that they are able to generate at the end. Like when you look at the end line, the result, the net resultant, why is there such a. So, yeah, what I was saying was essentially with the smart people, there's a cadre which works towards being able to sustain and maintain the existing set of technology and tools that we have and implement it in a brilliant way. The other cadre is who are able to come up with novel ideas and able to build stuff that can be implemented in the future in different facets of living and existence. America and China seem to be at the forefront of this thorough, sincere R&D. Why does the rest of the world, maybe Europe, India, seem to lag behind in that regard? And what is the way that we can catch up to the standards that have been set up by these two major players?
Yeah, see, this is a very, I mean, you have to look at it from multiple dimensions to answer this. Right? I think that no one can doubt that anyone uh, doesn't align with this ideology. I think everyone knows that they have to be in this race. Number one, I don't think the intention is questioned at all here. Like everyone, I'm confident, at least the top 20, 25. I'm very confident that all of them are very intentional about the intent is there. See, to answer this question, leaving aside, that's why I think this has to be looked up purely from a technologist perspective, right? Not Sometimes we wear that very emotional hat also, that hey, we are not doing anything, others are moving ahead. Why does it happen? Let's think rationally. See, these technologies are not cheap technologies that we're talking about. These are highly, like say, resource intense, uh, number one. Second, they are built on a bedrock of technologies which are very expensive. So when I say bedrock of like compute, just take one example of compute. To build those mammoth data centers which can run these LLMs, or you train those LLMs, even to why run? First train those LLMs. You need clean energy. You can't keep burning coal or like say fossil fuels to power that, right? Like you need even if you say that I don't care about environment or I don't have that dimension, but still these cannot really scale or power up to the requirements that you might want, like you might need in future. So energy is number one. Number two, where will you get those chips and those high-end, like say GPU designs and fabrication of these the chips, right? Like a fab, to set up a fab, it takes around 20 billion, 15 to 20 billion. Okay, and to like bring it from 10 nanometers nm chip to 5 to 3. I mean, these are all is it better?
Yes, yes, it's perfect now.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Mhm.
So you need to, so just to bring that all together, right? Bhavya, what we see is an LLM, but what we really need to understand is 100 other things have to be in place to train and model. And that is where I think there is a big difference, because uh, these resources are, as I said, are very expensive, and there will inevitably be some players who are ahead of the game. Having said that, that is where the other side of the story kicks in, right? Like something that could have been done in 1 billion, because of paucity of resources, you end up making such an optimized method that you might do it for 50 million. Classic example is space technology that we are experiencing, right? I always, it's a proof. Like you don't need to challenge this hypothesis, because you can see that. Like some of our space missions of our country are it's like fractional of the cost that some big players are doing it. So that's the beauty about technology, right? Like if you put yourself in some constrained, within some constraints, you'll always try to find the most optimized option. So I still remember one of my mentors used to say, if you go to a like say 7 course or 5 course meal, you will never appreciate what food is on your plate, because you are having so many options, and you will just you never feel how you should optimize that intake, right? But imagine if you are in a like say godforsaken desert, and you are just 5 bags of like say food to survive. How much you will optimize it? For all you know, the person who might be on the other side might find the best ROI out of it. Correct? So that's how it will work out. I don't think and I'm very positive, at least if I have to look at it from our country's perspective. Uh, India, we are some of the right moves we have done in the recent past, right? Like, and the one crib that I always had and was, why are we not developing our own model, which has also been addressed in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. The minister has, I mean, you should hear his speech, his vision. Uh, it is very clear that government is taking it very seriously, because we will run all the agents that I spoke about, future world, where you might go into a PF office and half your work is done by an AI agent. Do you want that to be run on a model which might not be trained to the nuances of someone coming from a Tamil Nadu to Bengal to Bihar to Gujarat? We are all our expectations are very different, right? And if that model doesn't capture this nuance, will it be the best way for us to implement it in use cases like railways, PF? All these are where our social security relies on, right? If you disrupt that, the entire 1.4 billion will have a problem, right? So that is why I was so nervous as to why we are not on that journey. And I'm so happy that these are all coming. And other news was Reliance setting up one of the biggest data centers. They have a plan. So there is a lot of push on clean energy from our side. So we look at news like flashes, but for a moment where the technologist had and capture these flashes. So you will see that we are also trying to build that ecosystem. And that ecosystem, like without GPUs, without chips, without the raw material, silicon, leave aside fabricating the chips. If you don't have the raw materials to make the chip, where are you headed? So lot of things need to be secured. The supply chain has to be secured. 90% of the chips are currently made in Taiwan. So there are a lot of things that really have to come together for someone to become a technology, like say superpower. And I'm happy that we are doing the right moves. We are not sitting and watching, we are not certainly a fence sitter. We are there. Might be a smaller player, but who knows? We might have a ISRO story here. Who knows?
Certainly, I think one other advantage that we have is how involved the government is towards driving all the people who might want to take an initiative towards catering to any of these challenges. But how does, from a perspective of a founder, does one navigate through the challenges that are inevitable when you are scaling a tech startup, majorly an AI startup at that, in today's world?
So see, two things, right? AI, if you have to be, I'm a very strong believer that if you want to be a tech powerhouse globally, if any country, take any example, right? A country which really dominates technology always builds products, okay? Because that's the foundation on which your innovation thrives. Because uh, as long as you are using the product, it more or less it's like servicing the product, because then you are trying to innovate. It's like you, how do I put it, you are trying to find the best way to use your laptop. Okay, yes, you will certainly innovate. You might make it very optimal. You might make it you might make your performance really fine tuned based on what product you have in front of you. But imagine, take away that product, what are you as a person? The services crumbles like a cookie, right? Because you don't have that product on which it is built. So that core always remains the product. Like you innovate on product. If you want to keep moving ahead, you have to keep redefining the quality and performance and the cost, price, the classic product manager, the footage, right? The product, market, price. Now I'm these days adding AI as a fourth um, in the diagram. That's the reason I'm happy that many of the forums uh, where I talk to the young founders or startups, their focus is also on products. Like there is a good mix of um, what to say, services related startups that's coming up. Similarly, there is a good cohort now of homegrown product-based companies that are coming up. And that I hope, and that is where people like me and all will would love to contribute to help these youngsters to set up those product-based innovation centers where they just don't adopt a product from somewhere else and start servicing it. If that happens, Bhavyadir, I think we are in for a amazing 2 decades or 3 decades, because we never had challenge of workforce. Okay, workforce is not the challenge. It's about this mindset shift where we can we build products which can scale globally has always been our question mark, which is lingering around us, right? And if there are one or two examples that come up, I'm sure we'll slowly start. And again, we always misconstrue the product to just technology or IT related. That has been my biggest problem. See, world is not all about the softwares of the world, right? There is a huge push that we can do from the physical products, the uh, look at it from clean energy perspective, look at it from multiple other dimensions, right? Products are products everywhere. And that is why I think the diverse set of products that I'm seeing, not just from software industry, but from multiple other industry is what I feel is giving hope that the young set of entrepreneurs are in the right direction because they are not relying on let me just service a set of products. They are going building their e-commerce portals. I mean, just look at the competition, what it does, right? Like, take a simple example. You might definitely be using Swiggy, Instamart, Zepto, Big Basket, Blinkit, four of it that I can remember. But I see product features launched almost every week. Something innovative happening, something innovative, something. So that the thought process of building and enjoying is gone nowadays, and that is what the founders really have. The new set of founders are now finally getting in, right? Like they are passionate to just keep making the product better and better, not because sometimes it's the peer pressure also. Like everyone is innovating. And that is a healthy ecosystem according to me, because that's the only way you will not rest all your on your laurels and say that, okay, I've built it, let me enjoy it for 2 years. And then when the market changes, I'll again revisit my product roadmap. That's why I'm really looking forward to the next 2 decades with the kind of AI capabilities that's coming in, the kind of the talent that we have, the government also understanding that these are very important. If we have to absorb all these talent that's coming in, give them employment, everything, right? It's a very big equation on puzzle that we are trying to solve. So everything looks all set. I think now it's about the car is ready. It's about driving responsibly on the road, basically.
100%, I agree to that. But you worked with umpteen of these AI startups and umpteen founders subsequently. What are the most common set of pitfalls that people who are starting out fall into that either A, hinder their growth, or B, entirely sabotage their operations and everything?
Yeah. No, this is a very most of our conversations are on these front, right? See, because see, never create a tool and then start trying to find where to implement the tool. I think that is the biggest pitfall, or one of the just a word of caution to all the founders, right? Because any technology is useless if it is not adopted. I think you can always go back in history and see some technologies were ahead of time, and they actually died because there was no adoption. Same technology came back in different avatar, very identical, and you would have seen them thrive because the market was ready for it. Okay, and I don't want to take company names here, but you will see that there were some companies who had similar products fail a decade back, and someone picked it up and became a huge success a decade later. So the smart ones who really come not just for their pitch assessment, or get mentored, or in some VC forums for funding, the good ones do not start with what technology they are bringing. The good ones really start by telling what problem they are going to solve or what need they are going to cater. It's very, very old school. I think there's nothing new about what I'm going to tell here, right? Like it is written in every book that you will have on product management, marketing, everywhere, it always starts with the customer. It always starts with the customer, ends with the customer. That's it. We might coin fancy customer first, customer on priority, all these taglines, we all can bring it. But net, if you, what you develop, if it's not being adopted, you're a dead duck. And that is why I always caution people that technology should be an enabler and never should be, unless you are in the, obviously in the, that bullseye, which is like just creating new models, right? Again, how like there is a performance of the model that gets evaluated, but eventually someone will ask how much of this model has been adopted also. Okay, that is it will companies are asking, like, why should I adopt your AI? What is the ROI? What will I get benefit out of? Will my top line increase? Will my bottom line get better? People will eventually come to the basics, like, tell me what is the benefit. So that's the reason, if you are an early stage startup or you're just thinking today to start something, look out. There are 150,000 problems that you can see solve. And if you find one problem, ideate what could be the solution for it, devoid of technology to start with. Then obviously that first layer or first level of solution will be so primitive, like a tribal or something, that it might need 150 people to do it, which is not feasible. Then break it down into smaller chunks. Which chunk really can be optimized by what technology? Even now, I'm not talking about AI, okay? Just technology. What will you adopt? What type of, will you go software, will you do, what type of hardwares you'll use, etc., etc. Once you have that stitched, it will look 10x better. Then finally, now that you have the power of AI, ask that question. Hey, can any of these be made better by AI adoption? And that becomes the last, that icing on the cake sort of moment, right? Because that's what the pitch finally comes up to. I solved the problem. This is what my stack looks like. By the way, I've enabled AI here because I feel that this will give this much optimization, performance improvement, this much saving. That's why I think AI can be blended. There cannot be a hindsight AI implementation anymore in your product roadmap. Neither can AI be the bullseye on which you build things, because then you might meander away from the ground reality, because as I said, customer might not even be needing it in the first place. On the flip side, you cannot think it as on the hindsight, I will look at AI. Okay, so that equation of balancing AI adoption in the product that you're building has to be there, and the winners in the current market are the ones who really balance this pretty well. They don't get biased on both sides. I don't want AI, I want only AI. No one is going at this point in time.
Is there also a relation between how good you are able to represent, the founder is able to represent their company or venture, as in terms of a common denomination that you'll find with all the major technological players is that their CEOs, founders, or the top level people, they are generally also have this personal brand of their own selves. Like Facebook, Instagram is one thing, Meta is one thing, but Mark Zuckerberg in himself is a brand. Elon Musk in himself is a brand. All these people, anybody you take, is that something that founders have to focus on?
Yeah, so see, uh, it always is an advantage when you have a brand, because people, your doors open up very quickly the moment you have a brand, right? That is definitely there. But all of them didn't get that brand overnight, right? They, like, even look at the recent one. Sam Altman is a huge brand now. Like Jensen is a huge brand now. I mean, Jensen was not quoted 10 years back in as many articles like how he gets quoted everywhere, right? But I think as long as your idea is strong, and as long as your belief that you're solving the right problem with the right uh, set of, let's say, technology, you will eventually become that brand, because that's a story in itself, right? Like you will, and that's the reason when you step up as no one in a room, uh, like if today I step up into a room where no one knows me, the first 2 3 minutes is what makes or breaks your who you are. And the clarity that you can bring there is what is very important for a young founder. Like, what do you, when I just talk to some new people, that's when a young person comes in, the first 5 minutes are very, very crucial. Like, is that person really going through the grind? Is the person thinking big? Is the person just in for this quick run? You can make it out in the first 5 minutes, right? The thoroughness of what the person has done, the founder has done, or a group of two, three have done. What are they thinking? What are they solving? You can see that they'll become a brand, because that's how it eventually you will start assessing it from that perspective. So I don't think that become it is an advantage having a brand. Make no mistake, fundings come in quicker, credibility is not questioned. But every successful founder who is now a brand had to go through that journey. No one had it unless you're born into a very rich billionaire's family. But everyone who's a self-made founder who scaled definitely would have gone through that.
Okay. In regard to what is next in areas of development, research and development in 2025, what are a few components that you will advise people to keep up with and maybe develop in terms of skill?
So, see, there are two sets of people that are in the AI fraternity, right? There is a core set which is building, and there is a core set which is adopting. Okay, and I say that 10% is the fraternity which is building. Okay, and the 90% of the AI community is adopting it. So, like, I fall in the adoption bucket. I am not the one who's building an LLM for sure. So, what I would highly recommend is there are two sets of things, right? When a new capability comes in, uh, adopt it, and just don't go. I see this herd mentality in many situations, right? We don't form our own opinion about a model, or we don't test it out. We don't even use it before even making an opinion, because what every mod it's going to be in future. Some models will be really good for some use cases. In one use case itself, you might use two, three models. Those are the scenarios that you're going to end up in future. And at that time, I don't think you should be just relying on word of mouth or some technical articles, because that's not going to work. So unless you dip your hands into these, experience it firsthand, what are their pitfalls? What are which areas? A model which is very strong in mathematical reasoning, you might want it in the like say in your value chain where you are doing R&D, you might want to plug it there. It could be slightly expensive, but it is worth it because it's your R&D. You need that. But as you go deeper into your implementation, where you're tracking, monitoring, that model need not be that same model. You might find a small SLM which could do the job. So unless we as adopters ask that question, like example, why is your model so expensive? If you start questioning with data set, hey, here are the number of tokens I'm passing, I'm see my bill is this much, whereas when I ran it with this particular model, it's giving me comparable data, results with fraction of a cost. The 10% community will never want to innovate. Yes, today you see so much action because there's competition. Open source is pushing, enterprises proprietary products are being pushed. That's why innovation is happening. And imagine that 90% when they start questioning, it will make everyone come up, right? And that is what would be my simple recommendation. Do not just form your thought process or your opinion based on hearsay or just some of the analysis that coming out. Use it, see where it adds, where it doesn't add. Do not make yourself do not outsource your thinking is my big request, because I see the young generation just outsource the thinking part of it, which is very dangerous, right? Because you really need it to be your co-pilot, at least until you have matured. Like say if you have lived with this for 20 years, then it's absolutely fine to outsource some of it. But do not do it right away, because you need to understand how your thought process gets better when you augment it with a tool as powerful as this, especially with the reasoning ones that's coming out. All of us will be tempted into just throwing our outsourced thought process, as outsourcing our thought process. Do not do that. Ask relevant questions, keep going deeper, and that's the only way we are going to solve a lot of open-ended questions that we currently have. And keep upskilling. I mean, last but not the least, like a person of in my, I mean, I constantly have to keep looking at it. Like every model just that comes out, I have to look at it. Why is it cheaper? I mean, it took me almost 2 weeks to go deeper to see what DeepSeek did, not just from the ethical, all the lawsuit perspective leave aside. Again, that's the emotional side. How can someone beat someone like this? That's all emotional debates. Stay away from that. Look at how did they optimize mixture of experts. How did they go about, like say, fine-tuning the model at fractional of the cost. What then you will see that a parallel Amazon has built a new reasoning algorithm. So what happens is you slowly start getting into the nuts and bolts of what people are doing. And that perspective, even though you might not be building model, helps when you are implementing use cases.
I think an argument could be made that amongst those 90% of people who are utilizing the stuff that the 10% people build, there are also two factions majorly. One who utilize those AI models or those innovations to maybe inculcate them in their own side projects or their in general working, and the other is to create something that is again might not be entirely new but still something that is unique in its own way, and the second who just tries to outsource the thinking part, as you said, doing assignments
Yes,
with chat gpt and all those things.
yes, it's going to happen across the board, Bhavya, because see again, you will see different set of people adopting technologies in different ways. So take the example of internet. Someone might be using it for absolute high-end research and getting better and better every day. Someone might be just watching reels every day. Okay, you can't prevent it. What I get, so no, this point of who is right here is very subjective. Just, but my point always is try to associate yourself in when you are adopting a new technology. Try to see it from how it can make your quality of life, your thought process better. If it is disturbing you, stay away from it, because uh, that's the beauty about technology, right? It can go into, it can be a, it's like an angel and it can be a devil also at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
if you see that your thought process is going towards something that is pulling you down, a smarter one will pull out. And that is why I think it's slightly, it goes into a very different conversation of ethical and all those kind of stuffs, right? But I would, when I say use it in a way where you feel that you are getting more productive every day, where your thought process is getting better every day, where your answer, question, your problem solving capability is getting better every day. You're getting that 2 hours back where you're working out, you're focusing on your health, you're with your family. I mean, these are important things that we as a society need to factor in. That's what I measure it, right? Like today, if someone asks, like, do you use ChatGPT to write some of your stuff? Absolutely. But I don't say cut paste my email and say answer something, reply to this email, and then I send it back to that person. I will go and ask, like, why is this person asking this architecture? Why is this person asking me to use this model instead of this? It's easier rather than me finding it in 8 hours. I can find it in 1 hour. But I asked that question. Use it in that fashion is what I'm saying. Uh, that just makes it even better for you.
Precisely right, being mindful and being consciously. Okay, so this is the final aspect of the
Hmm.
episode that we do. Mr. Vignesh, what would be your word to humanity at large?
See, humanity at large. I mean, that's a very heavy question. But if you look at it, right, uh, if I distill down, I mean, the word distill is now very widely spoken now. So I'll also leverage the word distill. So if you distill it down, what are we really thriving for in this ecosystem, Bhavyadev? All of us work, do things eventually to stay happy. That's all it is. Like everyone wants, no one really in their right mind would want to say that I don't want to be happy. And technology is one of the angle which helped us be get that happiness also, like be it entertainment, be it enriching your thought process, reading, all these aspects, your mobile phones, end user computing devices, all of them in some way or the other enabled you to get into some of that areas, right? Like you can video call now, which was not possible. You feel more happy connected with someone who is very far away. Think about it. Think about it. Technology eventually wants to make you thrive, be happy, happier. That's the intent with which every technology comes out. How we use it, I'm not going to debate it, but the intention is that. So at large, that's what I would feel. I would hope that we are accelerating a larger set of people to get to that happiness that everyone thrives. Because if world at large is optimized on resources, on time, then what it means is we get more time to take care of the society at large. The 3 hours that you might get back, you might go and talk to someone who needs that time, or you might put yourself into some social work where you uplift a area or something. So that is what I hope. I mean, it's a hope. That is where I hope this powerful tool like AI or a technology that AI does. I don't want it to become another tool or a technology which makes the richer more richer and the deprived more deprived, because that will make it even more worse than where we are at this point in time. So I'm positive that we will democratize it, like how everyone getting internet has helped tier 2, tier 3 rural areas of India come up, get into the mainstream. Hope these language barriers, the other crucial elements that we had it only in pockets, uh, get eliminated. People get to experience a far better quality of life that they all aspire for.
Mr. Vignesh Kumar, I heartily thank you for agreeing to do this conversation. And yes, thank you so very much.
Pleasure. I think keep up the good work, Bhavyadir. I know you are also a very young uh, person who is just making the mark. And so I'm really happy that youngsters like you are not wasting a Saturday uh, and having these kind of conversations, right? Because that is what we need. Like we really need people who can push that boundaries and ask these questions. I mean, I'm sure um, these questions will trigger some thought process in you, and you will try to go back to the drawing board, figure out few more questions. Eventually, you'll land up on the aha moment where you want to build something. So, thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.